Sleep is the foundation of our entire health, our well-being, and our performance, and also our happiness. It's a time when we get to kind of rebuild our bodies, our brain cleans and processes everything. When we're well slept, not only are we healthier, we're happier, we have better relationships, we perform better at work. Every single part of our lives is affected by how well we sleep.
Sleep is not passive. It's the most powerful form of self-care we have. In this episode, I'm joined by Aimee Griffiths, a leading expert in sleep science, recovery, and home performance technology. Together, we explore why sleep isn't just about hours in bed, but about creating the right environment, temperature, light, airflow, materials, routines, and mindset. Aimee breaks down how tech-enabled bedding and personalized systems can help anyone improve their recovery, regulate their nervous system, and increase daytime energy. We're going to dive into the future of sleep innovation, the psychology of bedtime rituals, and small changes that can deliver big results. If you've ever woken up tired, you've ever hit an afternoon wall, or wondered why your best thinking happens only when you're well rested, this episode is for you. But first, let's get to know Aimee a little bit. Aimee Griffiths is living the dream by elevating lives through better sleep and recovery. As the founder of Rise Lifestyle Co., Aimee partners with leading wellness innovators like Bedgear and Saragem, drawing on her extensive experience in sleep science and performance recovery to revolutionize how people rest and rejuvenate. A passionate sales leader and wellness advocate, she's a beacon of innovation, guiding others to live healthier, happier, longer lives. Aimee helps athletes, high performers, and everyday individuals optimize their rest and recovery through science-backed solutions, turning sleep into a powerful performance tool to enhance energy, build resilience, and support your longevity. Aimee shares her insights on sleep and recovery performance, revealing how the right tools and practices can transform well-being from the inside out. She is driven by a tireless curiosity and a dedication to wellness. She's a trailblazer in the recovery industry, believing wholeheartedly that a well-lived life begins with a great night's sleep. Aimee Griffiths, welcome to the Flourish Feed Podcast.
Gillian, thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited to be here with you today.
This is wonderful. And as you can see, for those of you watching this podcast, it is beautiful, bright and sunny where Aimee is because she is joining us from Gold Coast, Australia. And it is dark where I am because with the time zones being what they are, it's nighttime where I am. So whatever guidance you give me today, I'm taking it right home. And I'm using it to go to sleep well tonight. Now, we know that sleep is fundamental to health, but in our Flourish framework, it also impacts purpose and autonomy and achievement, especially relationships and energy. How do you see sleep as foundational to flourishing? What does it mean to you?
Wow. I mean, sleep is the foundation of our entire health, our well-being, and our performance, and also our happiness. It's a time when we get to kind of rebuild our bodies, our brain cleans and processes everything. We build new memories and we really work on our emotional core foundations as well. Look, when we're well slept, not only are we healthier, we're happier, we have better relationships, we perform better at work. Every single part of our lives is affected by how well we sleep.
Now, you and I both share a passion for athletics. Let's start with that side of thing, athletics and movement. And you have a young family too, so you're a very busy lady. How are the pieces all part of the same optimally designed life in your opinion and experience? What are you researching and experimenting even on your own right now as it relates to that need for great rest in your day-to-day life?
Oh gosh, well, we both love working out, lifting weights, and performing really well in the gym as well. So I really I'm tracking my sleep, but also I'm really conscious of how what I'm doing during the day is affecting my sleep. We know sleep and exercise go hand in hand. So when we exercise, we sleep better. When we sleep better, we work out better and we perform better in the gym as well. So everything works better when those two are kind of coordinated and we focus on both. But I've even noticed I've been tracking my HRV, which is normally when we sleep, which is heart rate variability. And that's an indicator of longevity and overall health and our ability to deal with stress. And, our sleep impacts that a lot as well as what we do during the day. So, no alcohol, eating the last meal of the day really early as possible. So yeah, so everything we do, kind of sleep and exercise really work well together. We know that when we sleep well, we actually get better gains in the gym too. So during deep sleep, up to 80% of our daily human growth hormone is released during deep sleep, which is what repairs damaged muscle. It helps us grow muscle and helps us heal our body as well.
Fascinating. I want to stay on the topic of sleep and exercise together as a pair, because that deep sleep piece is one that sometimes is a little ephemeral. I also wear a tracker. I won't use the brand name because I don't know if it's all that important. There's lots of different trackers that are out there. And it sometimes will tell me that I did okay on the REM, but my deep was low. Or the next day I might have a good amount of deep sleep, but my REM sleep was low. And I wonder, so you're telling me that exercise and deep sleep, or exercise is one of the things that can cause us to experience that deeper sleep. And then the growth hormone that's released during deep sleep causes us to do better in the gym or have better muscle gains. What's the pair for the REM sleep part? Is that related to the HRV or is that related to something else?
So REM sleep is generally later on in the night, and that's a little bit more of our brain processing, our memory processing. So during deep sleep, our brain kind of shuts down and cleans itself. It does have a beautiful process of cleaning itself out, and our body repairs during deep sleep. And most of our deep sleep happens really early on in the night. REM sleep, the longer we sleep for, the more REM sleep we get. So exercise and REM sleep, the things that really happen during REM are more cognitive processing things. So we learn, we memorize, that muscle memory side of things as well. And one of the things that people actually, when they are tracking their sleep, one of the big misperceptions when people track their sleep is that light sleep is a bad thing. But light sleep is just simply 2 stages of sleep, stage 1 and 2, that are actually really good. There's some cool things that happen, like muscle memory particularly, and cognitive firing between muscles during that light sleep. So light sleep is supposed to be 50% of the night. So if you ever see, oh, I get so much light sleep, I'm a light sleeper on your tracker, doesn't mean you're a light sleeper or a bad sleeper. It's supposed to be around 50% of the night anyway. And there's some great things that happen during that time.
Very interesting. I think that's great. I've never heard that unpacked for me before. When it comes to any type of sleep, whether it's maybe you could start with the REM and then tell us about the light sleep. Are there things that we can do or that we accidentally do that interrupt our ability to hit those different stages that are daytime habits? Like you mentioned alcohol earlier. Does it have a direct correlation to a certain type of sleep? And what are maybe some of the other lifestyle habits that we have, just so that we can call them out and become aware?
Okay, I love this. So let's start with alcohol since we went there already. Alcohol is a sedative. So a lot of people use it to kind of relax and fall asleep. So it will help you essentially fall asleep, but alcohol shreds our REM sleep. So look, unfortunately, there is no amount of alcohol that's going to be helpful for sleep. It's not they don't go hand in hand the way that exercise and sleep do. And alcohol will shred our REM sleep. So that's when we miss out on REM, our body kind of builds up a need for more and more REM sleep. So that impacts our cognitive function, our ability to make decisions, our coping mechanisms throughout the day. So we find things that probably, we experience them as being worse than what they actually are. Our problem solving abilities, our reaction times, all of that REM sleep really helps with. And memory, of course, is really affected by it. So alcohol kind of shreds our REM sleep, not great. Sleeping pills tend to actually do the same thing. They're a sedative, but in general, they will, not great for REM sleep. When we talk about deep sleep, some of the things we want to do to promote deep sleep early in the night, obviously, try and go to bed before 10 p.m. is a great, having that deep sleep early on in the night, but keeping our lights low. So having darkness before we go to bed and I call it turning off the big lights. So turn off the big lights, just have low lights or red lights. Finishing our last meal early as possible. And I know that's really hard to do because we all have busy lives, and by the time we get home and we pick up our kids and we get them bathed and we go to make a dinner, it can generally be kind of later in the night, but our body in deep sleep early in the night. So within about 10 to 20 minutes, our body's going to start going into deep sleep pretty much straight away. And our body needs to shut down to do that. So if we're digesting food, our body can't really shut down and have that full body recovery that we need. If we're kind of wired and alert, our body doesn't have that, that's our nervous system needs to really relax through the night to have that deep sleep early in the night. And even caffeine. So caffeine has a half-life of 6 hours. So, sorry, half-life of 6 hours. So it'll last around 12 hours in our system. So after 6 hours, you're still going to have half the amount of caffeine in your body, is what that means. So if you're having a cup of coffee at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, you've still got half that caffeine in your body at 8 o'clock at night. Okay. And it's not like you'd go and have a half a cup of coffee before you go to bed.
No.
Hopefully
Absolutely. Not. No, hopefully not. So those are some of the things that can interrupt. And now I want to, and actually, you know what? Before I go to things that can promote, I want to stay on things that can interrupt, because one of the other, alcohol being one of the things nobody wants to talk about, but what about devices? That's another thing that nobody wants to talk about. What's the impact of devices on our ability to drop into deep sleep? Because that sounds like the ultimate goal is to be able to drop off quickly, get your maximum deep sleep hours as much as possible before midnight so that your post-midnight hours can be spent in REM and light. So tell me a little bit about your research and knowledge in the device department.
Okay, I'm going to be a little bit controversial here, but I understand we live in a very hyper-connected world, right? We are constantly getting fed information through our devices, and there is so much in our lives going on that we are so connected to that we are constantly trying to keep up. We always trying to keep up, and there's that big FOMO, fear of missing out, if we put our devices down. But my dear friend, Professor Michael Gratizer, he's an Aussie as well. He's done a whole lot of research in the blue light and devices field. And his research actually found that sometimes, particularly in adolescence, taking away a device can create more anxiety and increase time to fall asleep versus actually having those devices. Some of us, a lot of people use it as our time to escape, our time to wind down. Look, brightness in our eyes at night is not great, but there's ways around it. Turning down that brightness, turning on the night mode if your phone has night mode. So, a little bit controversial because we know that, we hear all the time, no blue light, no devices before bed. So yes, for our autonomic nervous system, having no devices around can really help us wind down and relax a lot better. But for some people, it's okay. It's not that bad of a thing. The research hasn't found that it affects, I think it was around 14 minutes. It wasn't a huge effect on the time to fall asleep.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
You're going to be the new best friend of my kids and the people that I live with, because I'm always the person who's saying, put the phones away. You need a better night's sleep. And now Aimee Griffiths has proven or brought to the table that maybe it's not so bad. 14 minutes doesn't sound like a lot to have to wager in order to get through that, blue light barrier or whatever it is that's doing to your autonomic nervous system. What are other things that I could do, or that, if I was working with somebody and we wanted to be able to improve their cognitive function, and REM we know is something that's been lacking in their sleep patterns, are there habits in the day, or maybe more things that are in the setup of the sleep routine that can get us some better results in REM?
Absolutely. Just back on the phone thing or the device thing really quickly. If you're someone who's going to spend 2 hours on your device when you should be sleeping, I just want to be really clear. I would never sacrifice that.
Okay, you didn't say that.
Of sleep. What you're going to get out of that 2 hours of sleep versus what you get out of 2 hours being on your device, watching the latest Netflix, keeping up, scrolling on social media. I think it's just having the mindset to be able to weigh up, what is going to be better for me overall. and making that clear decision that, it's bedtime, time to put it away. So devices before bed are great, but we really need to kind of set
Okay.
a reasonable time limit on
I
it.
like that. So maybe the thing is the discipline around I've heard that before, consistent waking time, consistent sleeping time, and that's the line that we draw in the sand. What we do right before then, if it happens to be on a device, okay. All right. I like that. That's a compromise I can live with. All right, back to REM hoarding. How can I help people, or what can we do in our day or in our sleep routine, maybe our sleep setup, to experience a greater quality REM sleep?
Okay, I love this. And better quality deep and REM sleep. So REM sleep, the very simple part of REM sleep is the longer you sleep for, the more REM you get. So REM sleep, generally deep sleep, is in the first part of the night, and then REM sleep follows that. But as the night progresses, your cycles of REM become longer. So the first sleep cycle, you might get 10 minutes of REM, then you might get 20 minutes of REM, and down to that 7 to 8 hour is generally all REM sleep. So ideally, if you're focused on more REM, the length of sleep is really important, but also whatever you can do to, so a lot of people wake up during that time of 3 o'clock in the morning, and it kind of fractures the sleep architecture of their night. So being able to get back to sleep and being able to efficiently have the sleep cycles and the architecture of sleep the way that it should go. So if you can fall asleep, if your deep sleep is able to happen in those first 20, 30 minutes of when you go to sleep, so it can start then, it's going to make the rest of the cycles more efficient. So really focusing on turning down those lights at nighttime, that helps our body. So our body produces melatonin, which is our sleepy hormone, in response to darkness. That's the trigger. So using an eye mask, turning down those lights, our body's going to start to release the melatonin, that sleepy hormone. And then during the day, in the morning, my favorite thing is get sunlight on the body, in your eyes, all those things as soon as you can from waking up. That's also a trigger. So our circadian rhythms, right down in the center of our brain, is kind of like the epicenter of our circadian rhythms. And it receives signals from our retina and our gut. So the retina receives a light signal that says, okay, it's time to be awake. And then that sets your circadian rhythms to release the hormones to be awake, knowing that in 16 hours, it's going to be time to go to sleep again. So it really helps getting that daylight. Now, indoor light, as much as it looks like we're in a nice bright environment, is nowhere near what the signal that your brain receives from outdoor light. And that's based on a lux. So to give you an idea, the lux in this room can be about 300, 400, 500. The lux outside on a sunny day like this can be like 100,000.
Wow, that's a big difference. So we recently bought one of these Lux lights that you can purchase that you have in your space, because in Canada, our nighttime in the wintertime starts very, very early, and our morning in the wintertime starts much later. So if you want to be able to have any kind of circadian rhythm that is functional as opposed to tied to the actual sun, purchasing one of these Lux lights. What do you think of these lights? I mean, they are pretty powerful. I was surprised when I first used it that it was almost like a cold shower on your mind. What do you think of those kinds of technologies?
Absolutely. I love them.
Yes.
I think especially in areas where it does get dark and like your winter days are really long, there is such a thing as, it's called SADS, which is a seasonal affective disorder, which is basically we get really depressed when we're in the dark all the time. And they're a great tool if you don't have the ability to get natural sunlight. It's a great tool. It's kind of like a supplement, right? If you can't get vitamin D, you can take a supplement. Ideally, the most natural way is going to be best. But I think they're a super tool. It's really, really good. Anything you can do with the Hilux light, and also red light is just a really beautiful technology as well.
And the red light is for waking or for sleeping? What is the red light for?
It's a bit of both. It actually is just really, really good for our circadian rhythms, our overall body. So there's different types of red light. There's near infrared and infrared light. And if you can have a device that has both of those, it's great for, where do I even start with this without going too much into it? It's amazing for recovery. It's amazing for mood. It's been shown to help decrease our oxidative stress. It helps as a neuroprotective for our brain.
Wow.
It even decreases DOMS. So, muscle soreness after working
Yes.
out.
Yes.
Yeah, research shows red light can help decrease DOMS by up to 55%, which is a lot, like half of the muscle soreness. So
Now, so this is like an infrared sauna? Is that what we use to get this, or how do we experience red light?
okay, so red light, you can find a device like a panel or a pod. A lot of wellness centers will have something like this as well. So, or even there are little red light devices that, particularly if you have areas of injury, or you can put it across your face, you can use those for injury recovery and pain relief as well. It's just a natural light on the spectrum that, because we're inside so much, we don't get enough of it. A lot of us are very blue light rich, and like so much blue light from being indoors under LEDs and in our phones and everything.
Yes.
And red light is something we naturally get from the sun that gives us energy. So it increases our ATP production in our body. But it's
I like
also,
that.
yeah, it's good for so many things. And it's such a great treatment. So red light I love because it's efficient as well. So red light is really only 2 to 3 times a week.
Brilliant.
And you'll feel great after one session of red light as well.
Fantastic. I'm going to come back to two things and then we'll move forward, I think, maybe to a new topic. But earlier you said the body is set so that upon waking, it knows it will release melatonin again in 16 hours. And that sounds like the body actually does have a pretty good internal clock. And why I mention this is because one of the forms of wealth that we often talk about is this concept of how you invest your time. But that seems to be one of those forms of capital these days that no one feels like they have enough of. It's always overspoken for, that it's always split, it's divided, there's too many priorities. Tell me a little bit about how does understanding our internal clock improve our relationship with time? Is that possible, that when we have this consistent 16-hour experience, it's not just more hours, but we end up having better hours? Tell me a little bit about your feelings on that.
Okay, that is such a great question. Yeah, so our circadian rhythms is actually not even just one clock. There's a lot of little different clocks in our body that work like clockwork as such, and they all are connected. So the more we can keep a routine, which I know is really tricky with our busy lives. Even me, I travel a lot. I have kids. Always have something different, young kids, so 4 and 9. We always have something different going on in our lives. I'm either traveling for work and I'm on a different time zone or at an event or something. So I understand how tricky it can be, but as much as we can keep to routine. Sleep, for example, our sleep consistency, so our regularity being going to bed at the same time and waking at the same time every day, has been shown to be a better predictor of longevity than sleep duration or sleep quality.
Really?
So the number one important thing is going to bed at the same time, waking up at the same time, more so than anything else. So having those rhythms in your day, so meal timing, again, when we said our circadian rhythms connected to the gut, meal timing and consistent meal timing is, again, a trigger. It kind of is a signal to our body to help with those regularity, that circadian rhythm. And the more we have regular circadian rhythms, so getting sunlight or light early in the morning, it's going to give us more energy during the day. Our body, it's then connected to our cortisol production. Now, cortisol is known as the stress hormone, but we're actually supposed to have a big boost of cortisol in the morning and throughout the morning that gives us energy to do what we need to do. So cortisol isn't necessarily negative. It's only a negative hormone if it's at the wrong time or too much when we don't need it.
Absolutely. That makes so much sense. Now, I want to ask you because I don't do as much travel as you do, perhaps, but when I do, my sleep tracker tells me I'm the worst sleeper in the world all of a sudden because I've changed time zones. And I know I'm throwing my body a little bit for a loop because I am changing when I wake and sleep and I am changing my meal times. Do you have any secret hacks for how you handle time zone change so that you reset, or do you actually just try to maintain your home time zone and disrespect wherever you're going? I don't know if that's even possible based on, where you are in the world and where you're going, but tell me, do you have any secret hacks for that, or do I need to be overly concerned?
This is such a good question. And no, you don't need to be overly concerned. I think life is never perfect, right? We do the best we can with what we have. So, especially when we're traveling, even an hour time difference can throw out everything. It throws out the bedtime, the wake time. So my travel, what I do when I travel is I will always, generally if I'm doing a long haul, I will actually take a night flight because I'm either going to sleep really badly in a hotel somewhere, or I'm going to sleep really badly on a plane. So I kind of accept the fact that that one night is going to be a bad night's sleep. But as soon as I arrive, I always have warm lemon water every day. So that for me, it can be just two big glasses of water in the morning before caffeine. It just tells your gut, which is connected to your, circadian rhythms.
Yes.
Hey, I'm awake. Let's get going. And this is the time I need to be awake now. So I have my water first thing in the morning, and then I work out. That's my big thing in the morning. I work out. Again, it's a signal to my body to know, okay, oh wow, something's shifted, but it's morning, we're working out, and I need to have more energy during the day. So
you preserve your schedule wherever you are. It's just like, that's it. We start over wherever we are in the world. And it's that consistency of what you do, not when you do it, that is really the hack. That is the secret. That's awesome. Now, you mentioned earlier too, a couple times that when we wake, there's things that we do that signal to our gut, and our gut does something, or our gut signals to our body. Can you tell me a little bit more about the gut? Because I've thought and read and learned a little bit about, the brain waves and the neurochemistry, but I haven't really considered too much about what's happening down there. What happens with the gut and circadian rhythms?
Okay, so our SCN, which is that middle of the brain that receives signal directly from our gut, so retina and gut, it's generally on meal timings. There was some very recent research. I haven't deep dived too much into it. There was very recent, as in like the last 2 months, that came out talking about how mitochondria has a effect on our sleep as well, how there's a link between our mitochondrial health and our sleep health. So I need to definitely do a lot more research into that and what it was, but I know it did come up. But yeah, it's just that meal timing. So finishing the timing of our meals. So when we start eating our meal, signals that we're awake. When we finish eating, we need to try and finish about 3 hours before we want to go to sleep. Allow our body, and I'm talking nothing, no little,
Nothing.
My kids are like, give me a snacky snack.
Yeah. No. It's bedtime.
And we all, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like a little, I'll just have that little bit of chocolate, or I'll just have this little something after. It really needs to be a nothing, kind of within 3 hours of sleep, really just to give our gut all the time to digest everything, move through, so that when we are sleeping, it's actual sleep time, not digestion time.
Makes a ton of sense. Now, where I want to move on to is your work in sleep technologies. So like things like the Lux machine, or the Lux light I was talking about, or the red light that you were talking about. What are some of the other technologies that are out there, or that are coming, or that you think are particularly either useful or total baloney when it comes to sleep? And maybe it has to do with the setup, or maybe it has to do with the waking up. What are some of the technologies you really think are worth looking at?
Okay, this is such a great question because there's so much out there that we're being fed about biohacking and new technologies, and there is exciting because we have the ability to have these additional tools in our toolbox. The first thing I want to say is that, get the foundations right first as naturally as possible, which is getting sunlight in the morning. Being hydrated is really important for sleep. So making sure you are hydrated throughout the day. making sure you have that darkness. There's no amount of sleep hacks, biohacking, anything you could do. If you're in a bright light home up until 11 o'clock at night, it's just your nervous system doesn't get the chance to really relax. And then also, the basics of eating those meals earlier. So get those basic foundations right first. And then we can look into some great tools like the light that you have. So, I mean, we put red light bulbs in our bedroom and I love it. I think it's the best thing. It's just it's a calming presence as well. It's not the strength of it like a near infrared and the LED infrared lights, but it's not the bright blue light as well. There's new tech. So red light therapy is really good. Sauna has been shown to be really good for sleep as well. So we love a sauna. There's a new tech out called neuromodulators. And have you heard of those yet?
I have, but I haven't talked to anybody about them. So tell me more.
Okay, so it's basically, and I'm seeing quite a few come through. It's a really interesting tech, and I can't wait to see how it's integrated into our daily lives. It's basically a headband that we wear. It measures our brainwaves, and then it kind of helps us to relax our brainwaves and go into a different, slower brainwave, more relaxed brainwave. So there's some evidence and research that they have been useful to treat depression, anxiety, and also help with sleep. Look, keep an eye on those. I know they're pretty new out there and there's going to be a lot of tech coming through. So finding something that's, really good and works for you is important. Also, really, again, going back to the basics of get yourself set up with a really great, breathable, cooling sleep system. So whether it's sheets, bedding, mattress, pillow, something that's personalized for you, that's going to work for you, but also allows you to keep a very cool microclimate around you. Most traditional bedding and sheets were cotton, which absorbs moisture and kind of holds heat, as well as really tightly woven high thread count. And when you have a really high thread count that's tightly woven, it traps the heat, your body heat that your body's trying to expel. Yeah. So when we sleep, our core body temperature needs to drop. Right. So yeah, having a breathable, cooler microclimate that we have in there allows our body to expel that heat. And that also helps us keep our, better sleep architecture and quality of sleep throughout the night.
I've never had it connected for me that high thread count is not the way. That makes so much sense, though. Are there particular fabrics, or is it, again, a personalized journey to choose your fabrics? What are some of the top materials that you suggest if it's not cotton and it's not high thread count? What should we be looking for? What are some of the buzzwords?
Look, I'm a little bit biased because I love our bed gear technology. It's designed as like moisture wick. So your workout gear that you wear to the gym?
Yes.
Which wicks moisture. Like you wouldn't go running or working out in a cotton shirt.
Right.
It's like that. It's naturally engineered. So it's actually engineered really well to dissipate moisture, wick away moisture, and also using really cool heat deflecting properties as well. So it's going to deflect heat, wick away moisture. It allows you to cool down and stay, in that cooler microclimate for longer.
Fantastic. And is there an ideal temperature, or is it, again, a function of where you live or how your body works? What's the ideal? I love dark and I love cold. And honestly, the colder it gets here in the winter, the colder my bedroom gets because we actually leave the window open even in the wintertime. It's just how I like. But is there a rule of thumb on temperature for sleeping?
I love that. Dark and cold are definitely it. And if you think about us in the core of our primates that we are, we were cavemen. We would sleep in the cave, which is cold and dark. That's where we're designed to sleep. So cold and dark is great. Look, it's meant to be the ideal sleep temperature in a room is meant to be 18 to 22 degrees in Celsius. So I think it's about 64 degrees to 68 degrees Fahrenheit, if I've got that right.
That's pretty close, I think. Yes.
So yeah, definitely very cool to help your body maintain that cooler sleep temperature throughout the night. So yeah, very, very dark. And if you can't control the light around you, like use an eye mask. It's look at what we can control. Ideally, I'm not a huge fan of air conditioning, and the reason for that is it takes the moisture out of the air as well. So we end up sleeping quite hydrated. So, I'm in a really hot environment, so trying to keep it that cool is great. I turn on the air conditioner first, cool the room down, take a little bit of the humidity, because humidity can affect your sleep as well. You don't want it to be too humid. Take that humidity out of the environment, and then once right before I'm ready to fall asleep, the fan's going just to keep it much cooler, because the temperature naturally drops throughout the night too.
That's true. Now, looking forward at sleep tech, you mentioned the neuromodulators, which is something that's new and just on the market now, but looking forward, what excites you the most about where sleep and recovery tech are heading? Is there any innovations that you're seeing or that you want to see? Like, have you had those crazy eureka moments where you're like, this is exactly what we need. This would solve it. What are you thinking about these days?
Okay, that's really interesting. So look, there are so many new technologies coming to market. We know sleep tracking and integrating those into our sleep systems is becoming quite popular. I'm really seeing the connection between, our recovery, longevity, and wellness integrating into that sleep space as well, where back in the 90s, there used to be this whole I'll sleep when I'm dead attitude, and we really lacked appreciation for sleep. Whereas now, probably in the past 5 to 7 years, we've really seen a shift of, sleep as my superpower. Sleep is going to enhance my performance. So there's more of an appreciation of what sleep is doing for us, especially for people who know they need to perform, whether it's in the office, in the gym, with their families. When you get a great night's sleep and you know how to sleep well, there's a real, I'm not going to sacrifice that for anything. So
Totally.
what I'm most looking forward to with technology is how these emerge and blend without confusing the consumer. So I think it's how we're using all of this tech as a great enhancement to better sleep, better well-being, more energy. And whether, what I would really like to see is more in the sleep tracking space, in the bed space, the way that it talks to the consumer. A lot of people don't understand. They say, oh, I'm getting like 40 minutes of deep sleep. That doesn't seem like enough. Well, an hour of deep sleep or an hour 20 deep sleep is completely normal. That's all you need.
I love that. So it sounds like a need for almost putting it in perspective or having some kind of coaching or some kind of a feedback so that you know that what you're doing is, I guess you really have to get a baseline and then you need to know what you need to work on. And then, so I love that. And I also love hearing you say that the best sleep technology is still sleep and everything else is really just about, figuring out how to get it. It's these other things are not sleep. Sleep is still the best thing. And it's our relationship with it that's changed over the last 30 years that is very powerful for us and our own longevity recipe. That's brilliant. That's so cool.
Yeah, it's only the past like 10, 15 years that we've really seen so much research emerge to give us that science-backed evidence that, sleep helps improve our recovery, it helps improve our longevity, it helps improve our, even our charisma and the way that we're perceived by others. It's, it really helps every facet of our relationships, our performance, and our own well-being.
And you have really helped me unpack today the stages of sleep and what they're connected to. And I've heard it before about the things that you should do in your day and the setup routine and so forth. But I tell you, hearing it from an expert like you today, I'm going home and doing it all, and I'm going to do it the best I ever did it. But before I do that, I want to ask you my one closing question. I ask this of every guest, and it has to do with what I refer to as the moment of bliss. And so here on the Flourish Feed podcast, I like to ask, what in your day is something that you either seek or happens that gives you that disproportionately positive emotional feeling that I refer to as the moment of bliss? Aimee Griffiths, what's yours?
Okay, well, you would immediately think sleep, but it's actually just the time before sleep. I have 2 kids, they're 4 and 9, and every single night when I'm home and I'm not traveling, I look forward to most. I cuddle them to sleep. They know that I'm going to, they feel really safe. It helps with nervous system regulation for both them and myself. And then when they wake up, Even my 9-year-old now still calls out for mum. So both of them call out for me. So a little moment of bliss in the morning when I get to go into their bedrooms and cuddle them and be like the first part of their day and the last part of their day. That's definitely it for me.
Brilliant. Thank you so very much. I'm so glad we figured out a way to make this work. And I'm going to have the best night's sleep and you're going to have the best day ever. Thank you so much for joining us on the Flourish Feed Podcast, Aimee.
Thank you for having me. I wish you amazing sleep.
Thank you. See you soon.